Good day to our panelists. I am Kenneth Gonzales, your proponent for today. My first title is all about issues and problems encountered by teachers and academic performance of students in Gindurayan National High School during the new normal, basis for policy formulation. The sudden change of learning situation in the educational setting brought problems to varied schools all throughout the country or the world. Students really find it very difficult to adjust themselves to learn the lessons inasmuch as the modules of teachers were instantly prepared. It is because teachers were not trained to prepare instructional materials or not ready to use the different online modalities of learning. Many presume that a great difference in the amount or level of learning exists between the previous face-to-face and the current media programs. In other words, learning is not maximized to the highest possible degree. As stated in my slide, if the problems of teachers and students are not identified, these problems will remain unsolved. This is the very reason why I need to gather information relative to this matter. My proposal is supported by the study conducted by Arnab Kondhu et al., stating that due to the pandemic, both teachers and students were greatly affected. Pupils from marginal areas that experience socio-economic problems are significantly disadvantaged. In locality, almost all students are belonging to the poor families. Hence, the same problem might be existing. The first objective of a proposed study is to determine the various problems experienced by teachers relative to the following: choosing the mode of instruction in distance learning, conducting the varied modes of instruction, and preparing the varied instructional materials in relation to the chosen mode of instruction. After determining the varied problems, solutions must likewise be presented. Likewise, another objective of this proposal is to determine the different problems of learners in undertaking the learning process in the new normal based on the following: suitable of the modality of learning to his interest and ability, problems encountered in doing or complying the varied task, other related problems encountered. As stated in objective number 4, there is a need also to determine the level of performance of learners in the current educational system to be compared to the previous mode of instruction, which is face-to-face based on the dimensions stated. In objective number 4, perception of teachers towards academic performance of students will be identified, whereas in the objective number 5, perception of students themselves will be determined. There is likewise a need to determine the skills and abilities of teachers in relation to the preparation of instructional materials based on the stated dimensions. And finally, after gathering all the needed data, solutions should be identified in order to give rise to the current situation. I am now done with the proposal number 1. Let me proceed to the proposal number 2. My second proposal is all about the attitudes towards studies of grade 7 students and modular learning performance of grade 7 students at Gindurayan National High School. The problem with this mode of instruction is that both teachers and students are not ready to have this kind or mode of learning. Teachers are not expected to have prepared an effective instructional materials such as modules, because actually they have not undergone seminars and trainings to prepare these materials in order to come up with an excellent materials that may strengthen the knowledge and skills of students. Because of this, students likewise feel very difficult to understand the concepts presented in the modules. Negative attitudes of students towards reading modules develop. The tendency is for them to simply prepare the required outputs without having a thorough knowledge or understanding about the topic. Others request the members of the family to do the outputs for them. The present proposal is also supported by the study of Pluck-Severance that the module in science significantly influenced the attitudes of students. Thus, the researcher herein would like to determine if the same situation exists in our locality. In view of the reasons, the researcher herein would like to help solve the existing problems. Problems can only be solved by gathering important data that would serve as the basis for decision making. The first objective of this proposal is to measure the attitudes of students towards studies such as attitudes in reading the module, length of time spent daily for studies, level of interest towards the lessons, and eagerness to do the exercises. The second objective is to determine the effectiveness of modular materials prepared by teachers as to the following: suitable of language used, appropriateness of examples given, simplicity of the language used, attractiveness of the module, clarity of directions or instructions, clarity of ideas presented. The third is to measure the learning performance of learners as a result of modular instruction. Then, fourth is to determine whether attitudes of students significantly relate to the learning performance of students. And fifth, come up with possible solutions to the problems that are determined in this investigation. My third proposal is all about the managerial influence of school heads, workloads, and teacher performance at Yundurayan National High School. At present, school heads tend to delegate their tasks to teachers and free themselves from the burden of tasks that are inherent in their positions. Because of this, teachers become more focused on other tasks assigned to them than performing their duties and functions as a facilitator of learning. Based on my experience, there are many situations in different schools that teachers are preoccupied with other duties and responsibilities than focusing on the tasks related to teaching and learning. Likewise, school administrators also very busy working the required reports that they tend to forget about the management of school teachers and other school personnel. There are reasons why I propose this title as the focus of my research. The following are the objectives of my investigation in order to support my proposal. The findings of the studies will prove this. In this slide, it shows that appropriate and adjusted workloads must be given to faculty in order for teachers to perform better. Hence, the university management adhered to the findings of that study and formulated and implemented an effective workload management system. This is another reason why the researcher herein proposed this investigation. The student supports my proposal to pursue with this kind of research. His investigation showed that workload is intensifying and teachers are increasingly leaving the profession before reaching 35 years in service. It was likewise found out that there was a problem with workload intensification in that it is a primary factor in teachers choosing to leave the profession early. Hence, I am proposing to conduct this investigation to determine whether the same problem exists in the locality. The following are the specific objectives of the study. The first one is determine the level of effectiveness of school heads' managerial support based on the following dimensions: planning, organizing, command, coordination, and control. The second objective is to be able to measure the load of teachers, whether it is underload, enough load, or overload classified in the following: teaching loads and non-teaching loads. The last one is determine teachers' performance based on the following criteria: content knowledge and pedagogy. The second is diversity of learners and assessment and reporting. Third is curriculum and planning. Fourth is community linkages and professional engagement, and personal growth and professional development. And lastly, plus factor.